Okay, hello everyone. We are starting our first panel here. My name is Jan Kowalczyk, and with me today, Matthias Dams from the German Sports Betting Association, president there, and Dr Hofmann, partner at Melcher's Law. Welcome, guys. Hello.
Hello. Good to see you.
So, thanks for taking the time. So we are looking today at this panel in detail and talking about the regulation in Germany, winds of change. So I would like to start with you, Jörg. Can you please tell us about what is happening? Because as we all know, last year the 16 German federal states decided that they will regulate gaming in Germany, and supposedly it's already going to start next month, 1st of July. So please tell us more, Jörg.
Yeah, well, mid-June 2021, that's kind of a historic chapter in the history of gambling regulation in Germany, because we are in the final 2 weeks of the current interstate treaty, which is going to expire by the end of June, be followed by the new interstate treaty 2021 as of 1st of July. And this new interstate treaty introduces, for the first time ever, a regulatory framework for the licensing of online casino type games. In particular, we're talking about virtual slot machines and online poker. There's another vertical which is limited to licensing availabilities, which we call online casinos. And we're continuing this licensing regime for sports betting, which has begun 1.5 years ago, as you all remember, January 2020, guided by the Regional Council of Darmstadt. So this is a very interesting period of time. And we're also getting a new regulator in Germany, which is located in Saxony-Anhalt. There will be a very new centralized supervisory body being built up. This will take some time. They're really pushing hard forward to establishing this authority. But in the meantime, for a temporary basis, there is the local Saxony-Anhalt State Administration Office taken over responsibility for, in particular, supervising and, of course, the licensing regime. So this authority is prepared to take first license applications as of 1st of July 2021. And the minimum requirements for such licenses, which is virtual sports and online casino, are already offered on the authority's website. You can Google that and find some information. It's guidance papers which list these minimum requirements. You try to match all these requirements, put them into a compilation for your application, submit it to the regulator, and it's said that the regulator tries to handle your application, provided it is completed within 3 months of time. So this means that beyond 1st of June, we still have a period of time where casino games could be offered in Germany without a license, at least for 3 months. And I think it will be even more. For this period, we continue to apply the transitional regime. That is an idea created by state chancelleries and regulators in September 2020, and it's designed as a transitional regime to transfer the unlicensed traffic and the unlicensed operators into a licensed regulatory environment. Provided they are following certain guidelines 100%, they will be factually tolerated, regarded as reliable in order to can apply for license, they can apply for licenses, and this will continue beyond 1st of July. It's said that until the new centralized regulatory body takes over, but at least until first licenses will be available, and latest by the end of 2022. There's also technical guidance published at the moment, because we expect 2 big databases being introduced to the whole gaming market in Germany. One database concerns limit databases, and the other one concerns safe server technology to monitor player behavior and operators' activities. There's technical guidance published on the website of the same authority, where operators can apply for a test account in order to adjust their own software. Another server system, which we call OASIS, is handled by the regulator in Darmstadt, who's responsible for sports betting. We stick to OASIS even beyond 1st of July, not just for at the moment for sports betting operators, which is the centralized player database, but it will also be applicable and accessible for every license operator in the casino type sphere as of 1st of July. They simply need to apply for access. One word regarding sports betting. I said we continue with the licensing process. Of course, it will be a new one since the new interstate treaty is going to provide some new provisions. There is a replacement of the stake limit by a deposit limit, which is mandatory 1,000 euros. Exemptions can be possible. If an operator files a request for exemption, the regional council in Darmstadt will make a decision. And so what happens to licenses that are granted already under the certain current interstate treaty? These remain valid until the end of 2022. Can and will be extended, of course, but they will change. They will be adjusted to the new provisions, which are new in the new interstate treaty. I mentioned the limit, but there are certain other things. And there's a new regulation for advertising. Currently and in the past, you needed to apply for an advertising permission with the district government in Düsseldorf, North Rhine-Westphalia. After the end of June, this responsibility will be taken over by the regional council in Darmstadt. New applicants will have to submit a marketing concept. The incumbent operators will simply face an adjustment of their license and get some guidance on advertising, what is allowed, and they certainly have to follow. I think for an introduction, this should suffice to say where we are now and what we are facing in the near future.
Yes, thanks a lot, Jörg. This was very good clarification. I would like to move on here to Matthias. I mean, Jörg mentioned a bit about sports betting, what's about to change in Germany. We have already companies there that are regulated, but please tell us more, Matthias. What is happening in detail?
Yeah, thank you, Jan. The sports betting sector has already been regulated since a few years ago. They tried to do it at first with the new state treaty of 2012, and then 20 licenses should be issued. And this regulation perfectly failed. No licenses have been issued. Then they changed the state treaty again. And beginning of 2020, operators could apply for new licenses. And finally, in October last year, October 2020, the first sports betting licenses have been issued to private operators for the first time in Germany. And in the meantime, already 29 those licenses have been granted under the current state treaty. And the new state treaty brings a lot of new regulatory means also to the sports betting operators. This includes the databases, which Jörg already mentioned, especially the limit database and the activity database, the player protection and blocking database, which Jörg already mentioned. OASIS is already mandatory for the sports betting operators, so this is nothing new for us. But these other two databases, these are quite new, and these are new regulatory means which are not experienced in any other European jurisdiction, and nobody currently knows how this will really work out, if they will be functional, and how the whole market will get along with those new regulatory means. Yes. Also, in the area of sports betting, there are new regulations in the new state treaty. Some of those deal with the live betting, for example. The live betting will be more restricted in the future, only to those bets with a relation to the final result of a game, of a football match, for example. And live betting is only allowed for those sports areas where we only have a low frequency of events. That means I cannot bet on the next goal in basketball or handball, but on the next goal in football and ice hockey, for example. And in the sports betting area, we will also have a new limit scheme. Today we have a limit scheme based on stakes on the current state treaty, and this will be changed with a new state treaty to a limit scheme based on deposits. And there are certain restriction also for the sports betting operators, and those will be allowed to increase those limits under certain conditions, which will be published by the authority. And we are looking forward to get all those new informations from the authority, how our current allowances will be changed in the beginning of July this year. Sorry.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Matthias. And I mean, like when we look at Germany in general, there is always a lot of bureaucracy going on, right? So my question for you guys now is, do you think that maybe they are over-regulating here at the cost of player protection? Wouldn't it be not better to have some more simple rules, but at least we are pushing the black sheep out of the market? What do you think about this, Jörg?
Well, you mentioned a good point. It's about the goal of regulation, and it serves to protect players. I think this is the most important goal of every gaming regulation. And the way it's been designed in Germany, it's not the most perfect way to say so, because it's very restrictive. And we have to look at the consequences of a very restrictive regulation. I think those who created it wanted to provide the best protectable and the best protecting effect of regulation with respect to gambling addiction, to avoid it and to fight it, of course. But if you are too restrictive by reducing content too much, or imposing tax rates which are not competitive but too high, the effect will be that the operators will not reach their customers, because there is always a black market and we cannot ignore it. It would be naive to really close your eyes and just regulate your own market as if there's nobody outside. So this could mean that all these limits, these restrictions, these reduced scope of offerings lead to the fact that the black market is celebrating and taking over lots of players from Germany. And then I would say the best and most protective model cannot protect any players if players are not playing within that environment. That is so important. And so far we need to assess and evaluate the results, the consequences of the new regulations, not too far from now, probably within 1 year's time, and see was it successful or do we need to adjust a few things. If I may, I'd just like to add on what Matthias said. I'm glad, Matthias, you mentioned that we are expecting some difficulties with the technical background of the databases. It's just massive. And it's unique to have that limit database applicable cross-operator wise, meaning if your personal limit is 1,000 or it's 2,000 euros, and you're playing with one operator and you move to another operator, it's been monitored in real time. That's the idea, and to make sure that your personal limit applies with the same operator and you cannot spend more. I think this is a technical challenge. I don't think we need it because there's so many varieties of implemented limits, domain related. We will see. We're also expecting a big delay in the establishment of that sort of technical database. And some things are sort of contradictory, and we need to get clearance by clarification by the new regulator. I'll give you one example and then I'm done. If you apply for an exemption from the deposit limit with sports betting, that is possible. But imagine for the first 1.5 years until the end of 2021, it will not be possible to apply for such exemption regarding virtual slots and online poker. So the operator has one player account, one registration, one KYC system, but different types of limits. So how do you handle this? This will serve on a cross-operator basis. That is a chaotic infrastructure, which I have no idea how to control it. And I wonder whether it will come into force and be applicable ever. So that's my question. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Jörg. Matthias, you have an opinion on this?
Yes, sure. Sure, we have an opinion on this. It has always been the case that the regulation on gambling in Germany has been very restrictive. This has also probably historical reasons, and Jörg also could explain this. that the idea of player protection was the only mechanism to keep the current monopoly on lotteries. This is due to a federal court decision which we had in 2005, I think, and therefore this idea of player protection and also especially gambling addiction prevention has always been on the very high top priority of gambling regulation in Germany, and that's the reason why those mechanisms in the state treaty are so restrictive, and why the lawmakers invent a lot of new mechanisms to try to be very, very close on this idea of the players' protection. We seriously have our doubts if all these mechanisms are really meaningful, and if they lead to what's intended with them. And it could be possible that the players who also have to deal with these mechanisms, for example, if they see that their limit is going lower and lower, and that they cannot play with another operator, or they have to wait for 5 or 30 minutes until they can log on into a new operator when they have left the other one, and those things. It's really a big question if the players are really accepting this, and if they are going to move to the black market, to unregulated operators, then we have the big question how the state authorities are being able to prevent the regulated, the unregulated operators being active here on the German market. And this is for us a big question, and that the state authorities have not been very successful in protecting the regulated operators and the players from the black market in the past, shows us that we shouldn't expect too much on this also in the future.
That's a pity, actually.
Yeah, we have some hopes that the new authority, which will be established in Sachsen-Anhalt and in Halle, which will be for the first time a central authority, which does all the allowances and also the supervision of the market, and also the fighting against the black market, that there will be more power, more intelligence to do this job, and but we still have our doubts.
Yes, we all hope so, that they will finally manage to organize this correctly, right? I mean, I'm talking to people in the industry on a daily basis, and a lot of operators are doubting that that this overregulation helps, and also the European Gaming Association, EGBA, they also mentioned this, that sometimes if you overregulate, like it's happening in Germany very often, then you're not really focusing on the main goal, which is the player protection. You also always have to consider responsible gambling, which cannot be addressed if in the black market, right?
Absolutely.
So let's hope that that they will manage, that they will talk to also people from the industry, people like you guys, to ask them for advice, and also see what's happening in other European countries, right?
Yeah. We have an example in Italy. When Italy started to regulate back in the early 2000s, they were very restrictive and only allowing a few verticals. And they lost a lot of players to the black market operators. And overnight, a couple of years later, the numbers were rising, and they were shown that a lot of percentage of, seems like, new players followed the regulated market and returned. The reason why was they assessed the regulation, and they learned that benchmark of ranking the success of regulation is the channeling of players. You can only protect players within that licensed environment. So they adjusted their own regulation to a more competitive system to reach out to those players who were lost, and they came back. And that is a chance, if we fail now, to recover in the future.
Very good point, Jörg. Okay, guys, we are running out of time already. I want to thank you a lot for taking time here and talking with SiGMA about this very important topic. Thank you, Jörg. Thank you, Matthias.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. Welcome.
Take care.
Thank you for being here.